Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. What's going on? Hope everybody's doing good out there today. And it looks like I just woke up. I just did a little bit ago. We drove down to Grand Lake last night and watched the fireworks, and we didn't get home until, God, it was like 2:30 in the morning. So it was long drive, long night, and didn't get much sleep. But just want to take a little bit of time to do today's video. And to me, it's going to be one of the most important topics that I've talked about, as far as it's one of those more abstract things that'll really help you out, catch a lot more bass. It'll help you grow as an angler more than anything else. And that is understanding how pace affects your success in fishing. And we're going to get into that a little bit. I'm going to explain what it is. I'm going to explain how to use that to your advantage, and explain how a lot of people don't really spend enough time, using it as an aspect of fishing that is important as it really is. But a couple different things before we get started here real quick. I think when I did my video a couple weeks ago on my 5 favorite YouTube channels, you guys know, as I mentioned, William Henry Outdoors. He's the 10 or 12-year-old kid here in Missouri that has his own YouTube channel. He films his own YouTube channel. It's just the greatest YouTube channel I've ever seen. It's really cool. And anyway, he started out with 200 subscribers, and after that video, he's up to like 850 now. So he only needs 150 more subscribers to get 1,000, which allows him to get monetized with YouTube. So just want to ask everybody a big favor, and let's get on there and let's help put William Henry Outdoors over the 1,000 mark, so we can buy some fishing tackle or something from YouTube. So appreciate that. And also just wanted to remind you guys, on my own channel, weekly reminder, I'm offering memberships to the channel. These are basically, I got several different options that allow you to get extra videos every week. My own personal email address. You gotta go poop?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be right back. You heard that? I'm back. When you gotta go, you gotta go. It's just the way it is when you got a little one around the house. But okay, back to the deal here. Anyway, guys, I'm offering memberships on the channel. Like I said, these are extra videos I'm doing every week, not available to the public, commercial free. Also offering memberships for my personal email address to answer your personal questions. It's a great way to support the channel if you guys are interested in doing that. And also, one more thing, I'm also doing on the water lessons. So if you guys are interested in signing up for an on the water lesson with me, you can shoot me a private message on my Facebook page, Randy Blockett Professional Angler. Okay, let's get into this pace thing. Pace to me is one of the most least talked about aspects of fishing, that has the highest reward once you understand how to use it. And you hear people talking about all the time that, man, you really got to slow down to catch these fish, or you really got to cover a lot of water to catch these fish. That type of identification when you talk about how the speed to fish. But guys, I'm going to give you something right now that you have to sort of get into your mind as far as how you think about the speed that you fish at. It's not about fishing too slow. It's not about fishing too fast. It's about finding the right pace for the day that you're out there. And pace has everything to do with how many casts you make, how long you leave your bait in the water, how fast you got your trolling motor set, just basically the speed that you're fishing. And the first thing that you have to do, one of the biggest things that I try to determine when I'm out on the water, say I'm out practicing, or I'm out just starting out my day fishing for a fun fishing, I've got to determine the mood of the fish, as far as, how much they want to chase, how aggressive they are, their levels of aggressiveness or not. And then I figure out the pace that I've got to fish at in order to maximize and catch those fish. Let's take, for example, we'll talk about the slow pace that you have to get to. If you're fishing areas where you have to pick apart cover, say for example, you got a row of a bank that's got, just laydowns everyone, like a laydown every 5 or 6 feet. And there's a lot of complex limb system on that particular stretch through there. The fish still may be aggressive on that particular bank, but you simply cannot effectively cover all of the water if you have an abundance of cover that has a lot of different ambush points on them if you're fishing too fast. So obviously your pace at that particular time, even though the fish may be aggressive, has got to be slow. You know, you dial your trolling motor back down to 2 or 3. You know, when you're approaching a lay down out there, instead of making one pitch in it, you've got to make 5 or 6 to make sure you hit every possible ambush point in that particular area. And then, say for example, you have an area that, you know, doesn't have quite as many laydowns in it, or say you did the roly-poly.
Yeah.
Okay. And show it to everybody. Okay. There. Okay, I'm gonna finish the video here.
No, it's right there.
Okay.
I'll keep it in there.
Okay, I got it. We'll get him in here. So, say you know your area turns into like more stumps or maybe some mixed docks in there that doesn't require quite as much precise presentation and multiple ambush points. You can speed up your pace a little bit. Same goes like if you're cranking down a bank. You know, a lot of pace that you have to determine when you're cranking like open rocky banks or riprap has to do with water temperature, water clarity. You know, if you're fishing, you know, in the pre-spawn time of the year, say you're fishing down a riprap bank, water temperature is 50 degrees, you may have to slow your pace down a little bit. You know, you may have to, you know, adjust that in order to get that bait working at the right speed to generate the strike. A lot of that comes with just getting a bite here and there, experimenting with the speed of retrieve, experimenting how fast that you're moving down that particular bank. And once you dial into that, that's when you can really figure out what the right pace is. If I'm fishing down a rocky bank or a riprap bank in the pre-spawn time of the year, say with a, you know, a crankbait like a wiggle wart or something like that, I have to determine, number one, how fast I need to move that trolling motor. Number two, you know, how many casts I need to make a minute. Number three, the distance of the cast. Number four, the speed of retrieve on each one of those casts. And once I get a few bites in there, then I can figure out the pace that I need to be fishing. Sometimes the pace may be slow. I may have to dial that trolling motor back to 3. Sometimes it may be a little bit more aggressive and I can put that trolling motor on 5 or 6 and cover more water. So a lot of that is just sort of out of the haphazard, how you feel, you know, you need to most efficiently and effectively cover that particular area. And let's take the opposite end of it. Say for example, you're fishing, it's the fall time of the year, you're fishing a clear water impoundment, and there's a good topwater bite. Say it's one of those days that you don't have much wind, it's cloudy, maybe misting a little bit of rain, clear water, combination of spotted bass, smallmouth and largemouth, and the lake's low, and it's just a matter of getting on the bank, turning that trolling motor up high, bombing out those casts as long as you can, and just simply covering as much water as you can. It's like you're fishing a main lake point that turns into a cove, and you go back into the cove and out the other side. You're catching a fish every 30 minutes. One may be on a point. Excuse me, one may be halfway back in the cove, one may be back in the very back of the cove. In a situation like that, when you have scattered fish, that is when you have to pick up your pace, because you're not specifically casting to a certain target. The fish are scattered and roaming, and that's when your pace has to go fish. So as a general rule of thumb, when you're trying to determine pace, you have to determine how many fish are in the cover that you're fishing. And like I said, we'll go back to the heavy laydown bank, or say if you're flipping matted hydrilla and you've got a big matted hydrilla point, or you got a stretch of bank that's got, you know, just tons of boat docks on it. Obviously, you're going to have more fish concentrated in a short area than you would if you're on the opposite spectrum of those open banks, low water, clear water, where you're having to cover a ton of water in there. So pace has a lot to do, you know, with the speed of your trolling motor set on. That's one of the biggest things. Another thing with pace on there is, you know, the speed of your retrieve. And speed of your retrieve, I think one of the biggest misconceptions of that is the fact that people equate speed of retrieve to water temperature. And there is a factor to that, don't get me wrong. That's a factor you definitely have to consider. But a lot of times that's not the most important factor. One of the things that I found about speed of retrieve pace that you need to figure out. There is two elements on top of water temperature, and that's the water clarity and the species of fish that you're fishing for. It's been a general rule of thumb for me, even if you have cold water, if you have a mixed species lake that has sort of like a fairly equal population of spotted bass, largemouth, and smallmouth bass, you sort of have to pick up your pace a little bit in that clear water, even if it's clear. What are you doing there? What's the matter? Okay, we're going to finish up here. So use, and then on the opposite over there, if you have really dirty water, say if you have like 6 inches of visibility in a water, and even if the water is like warm, say it's like in the mid 80s, something like that, sometimes you have to really slow your pace down, even in the summertime, if that water's dirty. So in my opinion, water clarity has just as big of a factor on determining the pace that you fish as water temperature does. And it all goes back to, technique and how fast you're moving down the bank. A lot of people think, oh, the water temperature's cold, the fish are going to be, not very aggressive. Or they'll say, oh, the water's, warmer, it's the metabolisms are faster, and they're going to be a lot more aggressive. I have not found that to be true. I found out, like I said, the combination of water clarity, the cover that you're fishing, and the water temperature, all three of those will make a determination in the pace that you need to ultimately decide to fish at. So the main thing I wanted to get with you guys on this video here is sort of get out of thinking in terms of fishing fast, fishing slow, that type of thing, or fast, slow, or in between. Think about when you go out in the day, say, okay, let's figure out the mood and the personality of these fish, and let's determine the right pace that we need to fish out. And when you're talking about figuring out the pace for the day, you're figuring out, number one, the thing that will allow you to get the most strikes based upon how fast or how slow you fish, and number two, how efficient that is going to make you, because efficiency has a tremendous amount to do with your success throughout the course of a day. You want to be as efficient as you possibly can to cover as much water as you can at the level of thoroughness that you need to cover it at. And that's the whole key in fishing, guys, is learning to get your bait around as many fish and as many potential targets as you possibly can in the day's time and generate those strikes. It doesn't make any difference. You can make more casts than anybody else in the entire lake that you're fishing that day, but if those casts are not placed in the right area with the right speed to retrieve, with the right angle and the right trolling motor speed, it doesn't make any difference. You're still not going to catch that many fish. So you have got to, every cast, you've got to capitalize on that. Every single cast out there, you have to believe that you're going to catch a fish. You have to place that lure in a position where it's could possibly get ambushed by a bass. Don't ever go out there and just feel like you're fishing. You want to make sure every single cast that you're making, you think in your own mind, it's got a potential to get bit at any time. And once you put all that stuff together, speed to retrieve, trolling motor speed, how fast you're working the bait, how many casts you're making, that's when you can really, get in a situation where you can start whacking them. So there it is, guys. Pace, add pace to your vocabulary if you don't use it in fishing. There's more that we can get into. We can talk specifics about pace on retrieve, specifics on trolling motor speed, pace. But this is just a sort of an overview of that I wanted to pass along. So anyway, I'm going to get back out here today, and I hope you guys are doing good, and we'll check in later. See you.